Gata on opening the sutra. The Dharma incomparably profound and infinitely subtle is rarely encountered even in millions of ages. Now we see it, hear it, receive and maintain it. May we completely realize the Tathagata's true meaning.
All right. So, heart connection and patience, especially when you're bringing things up to the altar for the teacher. It's really important that you make a heart connection with the teachers and with the Buddha and with the Sangha and with all that is. And I know it can be a little frustrating because you're kind of like nervous about coming up here and doing it correctly. But actually, making that heart connection is the most correct thing you can do, right? How the limbs go is less important, right? All right. So, here we are. What day is it? What century? What time? Beautiful full moon happening. Really beautiful. Gorgeous sort of late fall weather, so invigorating. We had such a lovely experience with Reverend Hong Zhu yesterday. That was such a nice surprise. So interesting that Central Avenue, who knew, was like a spiritual acupuncture point on the globe. right? I mean, first of all, it's not that far away from here, right? Hongzhi reads books on Central Avenue about Zen and Buddhism and spends over 40 years studying. Roshi goes to Thackeray's bookstore, which is right down the street, picks up Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, reads it in the basement with his mother while they're doing the laundry, and the rest is history. So, yeah, never underestimate the mysteries of the Dharma. Actually, I think I've told this story before, that I had a woman boarding her Icelandic pony at the farm for a while. And she had some Tibetan monk friends, and they came to Toledo. And she said to me, you know, my Tibetan monk friends said, this is the most spiritual desert they've ever been in their lives. It's almost impossible to practice here. So, you know, hey, if you can make it in Toledo, you can make it anywhere, right? Oh. So, I loved several things that Reverend Hongzhi mentioned yesterday, but the one that really stuck with me, and the one that I thought maybe we could just sort of kind of experience together is, and while you're sitting, that alaya consciousness just spills forth, right? Because there's no external stimulation coming in to get the mind cogitating in the present, so to speak. So it gives the deep unconscious a chance to emerge. And we've been talking about this with several people in Dokusan, that the real healing, the real spiritual healing, comes from this very deep unconscious place. We can talk until we're blue in the face. We can even listen to 10,000 different Dharma talks. But if we are not allowing ourselves, our unconscious, to be touched and to be brought forth, then we're actually not doing the deep spiritual work, because the samsaric ego grows in the dark of the unconscious and starts, some say, before we're even born, before we even enter into a body, right? That sense of I, me, mine separation that's pernicious and fixed and defending itself at all costs. So it has occurred to me during this retreat that we need to really appreciate this koan system that we have inherited. I know it's a big pain in the butt, and it can be really challenging, and it's really hard to be told no, and it's really hard to figure our way into and through some of this kind of very ancient text and words and culture. But this koan system has been honed over centuries to be able to allow us to touch into that unconscious, to meet that unconscious, that alaya that's arising as we're sitting. And in fact, it's inviting the alaya to come forth. There are other ways of working this way. In Vajrayana, you use a lot of mantra, you use visualization. Koan is definitely uses visualization. There's no doubt about it, because we enter into the dreamscape of the koan. So here we are, our karmic habit patterns in the form of our alaya consciousness is just like having a frickin' party. And we're in like, kind of like, whoa, what's going on stage? I mean, after a while, your mind is just like all over the place, right? So a couple of things are happening simultaneously. One is we're inviting that deep unconscious that's arising to step out of its own echo chamber, because it's arising in the midst of sesshin, in the midst of the practice of awakening, in the midst of the practice of enlightenment. And it comes forth, and it's almost like this new territory. It's like, well, wait a minute, this isn't my usual kind of environment that I come forth in. There's usually people that I talk to, or narratives that I create around what's arising. But here, it arises in this warm-hearted spaciousness of our practice. And this makes all the difference in the world. I've had several people say to me in the Dokusan room, people are like so nice here, it's freaking me out, right? It's really uncomfortable to be in the midst of so much love and so much compassion and so much softness and kindness. That is the normal karmic habit pattern, kind of going up periscope and looking around and like, wait a minute, this is not my beautiful life. This is not my home. This is not my territory. Where are the weapons? Right? Much, much better to do this work while we're alive and conscious. Because they say, when we die, the karmic habit patterns of the mind continue. Not to mention that they continue in daily life as well. So what we're doing is this incredibly profound healing work that is actually, we're touching, sesshin is called to touch the heart-mind. We're actually touching the truth of the love and ease and boundlessness that is always true for us. Now, wait a minute, you say to me, these koans, I mean, like, there's prickly pins, there's screaming, there's yelling, there's hungry ghosts, there's weird bifurcation of people into two locations. I mean, this is like weird stuff that we're getting into. This is hardly loving, kind, wonderful, kind of dreamscapes that we're entering into through the koans. What are you talking about? So what the koan is doing is it's taking all of those deepest, most reptilian kind of negative, confused emotions. And it's like a poultice. It's drawing them up and into the field of benefaction that is your practice. And when you merge with your own consciousness, the koan, and the formless field of benefaction, then you have transformation. Do you understand? This is very important. And as Shoken students, this is really central to our practice. There's a few that are doing shikantaza as well, and we can do the same work with shikantaza. It makes it a lot harder on the teacher, actually, because we don't get to go through step by step through the curriculum, but it's possible. And especially those places where we get stuck, that's where the most healing is happening and the most growth is happening. So even though it's super, super uncomfortable, it's showing us how to lean into the truth of form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. All of the koans, the whole curriculum, all 1,700 of them, are about this Heart Sutra, are exploration and a verification of the Heart Sutra. And honestly, if you can't do it in the Doksan room and with the koan, you're not really doing it. You've got a very intellectual understanding. And that doesn't help. That doesn't heal. That doesn't transform. So, I've personally had a very rocky relationship with my koan practice. As you all know, it took me 10 years to even get to the first checking question of Mu. But that's because I was stubborn and I was afraid. I was afraid of what I was finding in my mind, and I certainly didn't want to merge with that. I mean, I thought it was supposed to be like nice and just get to a nice place. The niceness is in the merging with what is true, with what is arising, with bodhisattva vow, with practice. And that's a little different than just like going out and getting drunk and just having a really great time because there's no filters left. You're just out there having a good party, completely merged with what's happening. In fact, maybe like leading the charge. So Rinzin wanted me to talk a little bit about the Shoken covenant and my relationship to Shoken, in particular, my relationship to my teacher. And, if you think you've got complications with your teacher, teachers, and that, like, it's kind of like whiplash to go from one to the other, and one says one thing and the other one says the other thing, and you don't know what the heck's going on. Mine is a little bit complicated, too. And, a lot of people in the Dharma world don't like it. They don't like that a husband transmitted to a wife. I can see why. You know? There's a couple of things I kind of get away with and I just sort of slide by because I'm a wife, for sure. In fact, I found myself the other day, I forget what I did, something egregious. And, and he said, and he just sort of let it go. And I said, yeah, right there, that's why people don't like it when husbands transmit to wives. They think it's bullshit. So there's nothing more kind of ego blasting than having your husband be your teacher and your Roshi. Because first of all, I can't get away from him. So, I do go for walks every day. Oh, actually, though, I'm incredibly privileged because he is such an amazing, awesome teacher, and he's so steady as you go, and so reliable, and I've never met anybody quite as bedrock as Roshi. And as you know, I had a very tumultuous beginning to my life. And his steadfastness and his unconditional love, that has been the greatest teacher that I have. I don't even know how I got so lucky and so blessed. And of course, I share him with all of you too. We all got blessed and lucky. You know, we talk about sort of blending our practice into our life. And because we're living together, it's like at any second I can have a Dharma encounter, even when I don't feel like it. I just want to watch TV or something, you know? And, honestly, it goes both ways, to tell you the truth, you know? I like to say I'm the second among equals. But actually owning, whatever, I'm not sure if that's the right word, accepting and living into the hierarchy of our relationship has been very healing for me, surprisingly. So we're going to go over the Shoken Covenant for a bit. So, everyone has read the Shoken Covenant, correct? Okay, good. Informally entering this relationship as student and teacher in the traditions of Zen Buddhist practice, I fill in your name, covenant that. It's interesting. Yesterday with Reverend Hong Zhe here, he was reminding me that I'm sort of constantly, not constantly, but pushing a little bit against, defining ourselves as Zen Buddhists. Although that is our root, we really do combine other traditions into our practice, and I think to the glory of our practice, and it just seems like a much healthier, more mature way of practicing. When Buddhism first came to America, the Zen masters were very protective of like Zen, Zen the best, Zen, everything else, you know. Even Daido was like that. You know, it would be like, you know, he'd be like, oh, those Theravadins over there, those Tibetans over there, really, our system is the best. And we don't really do that anymore, thank God. Recognizing the humanity of each of us, we will build our relationship as teacher and student on a foundation of mutual trust, honesty, and respect. So this humanity business, I mean, I hope by now that everybody feels like, okay, you really get to see the humanity of myself and Rinsen. And I really get to see Rinsen's humanity in all of its splendor. There are certain things you guys don't get to see, but I get to see. We build our relationship as teacher and student on a mutual foundation, a foundation of mutual trust, honesty, and respect. So this trust, honesty, and respect, huge. We've actually had people who were students who were lying to us in the Dokusan room. And there's nothing worse than trying to work with a student and having them lie to you, right straight to your face. Please don't do that. If you feel like telling an untruth and you can't get yourself to the truth, at least say, I'm not ready to share right now. I can't speak truthfully right now. That is a truthful response, and we will respect that. Because if you lie to us, we can't teach you. We can't help you. And guess what? If you lie to us, you're lying to yourself, and you can't help yourself either. Right? So this is really important. Honesty. I hope that you see a good modeling of honesty in the Sangha, especially amongst the seniors. And Rinsen and myself try to be as honest as we possibly can be. Because what's the point if you're not being honest? Like, this is like the golden ticket doing this practice. As far as we can tell, nothing else is able to quite systematically enter into the hurt and the recklessness and the confusion of the unconscious as much as Zazen and the koan system and the liturgy and the Sangha working together, all of it working together. So if you're not honest, you're like missing the boat. In fact, if you're not honest, it rocks everybody else's boat, right? Because it's like, oh, there's a piece of the mandala that isn't shining forth exactly as they are. And the whole point of this practice is to get the ego, the samsaric ego, to relax enough to be like, oh, this too is it. This is not separate from Mu. This is not separate from Buddha nature. Right? And if you're being dishonest, you're doing a little ego trick to separate. Respect. I think we do a pretty good job of respecting each other. If nothing else, we have a lot of these forms that are really based on mutual respect. I mean, how many times do you leave a session and you just want to bow to the door at Kroger, bow to the grocery person bagging your groceries, right? I mean, it really gets in the bones, which is where we want it, right? Recognizing that our time together is short and precious, we commit to manifesting full and complete enlightenment as the fundamental activity of our lives. May we bring all beings to this state. So again, this short and precious is echoing what we say every day in the home liturgy, because truly it really is. I mean, I am 62, and it's like, wait a minute, that Tibetan astrologist said I was going to die at 68. But that's coming up. Shit. I mean, I hope he was mistaken. In fact, it was over on Bancroft in one of those. Yeah, I went to some kind of chart reading on Bancroft Street. Big mistake. Okay. All right. Coming back. We commit to manifesting full and complete enlightenment as the fundamental activity of our life. So, yeah, I mean, like everywhere we turn, we're always emphasizing bodhicitta, for the sake of all beings, to bring all beings to full and complete enlightenment. We are doing it, right? And this is what separates us from just being like the Zen social club, right? Super important, right? Super, super important. And the thing that separates us from just being like the yoga studio down the street, or the the eclectic meditation hall where on Mondays there's this meditation group, and then on Tuesdays there's the crystal singing bowls. No, we are absolutely unified in our commitment to enlightenment and awakening. And if you're not interested in that, you really can't stay. It's too hard. And also, the mandala itself kind of, I guess for lack of a better word to say, it kind of flings you out. It won't let you stay. I mean, you can be screwing up right, left, and center. But as long as you have that heart of awakening, you are welcome. And as a Shoken student, that is really upfront. That isn't just like, well, that's kind of a weird idea. I don't really get that. Or it's okay, I'll just keep saying it, Eventually I'll get it. As a Shoken student, it should be there should be some realization there. There should be some actualization there. There should be some verification of the power of bodhicitta in your life. Because that is communicating to the rest of the Sangha. And remember, once you put that gray robe on, you are considered a leader in the community. And it's not just how you fling your arms around or where your feet go. The most important thing is your heart. How your heart connects with yourself, with the teachings, with the teachers, with each other. May we bring all beings to this state. Of course, just a recapitulation of the Bodhisattva vow. And also, just to say this is very important, because when we're sitting, and we're doing a lot of sitting, and we get into a nice, kind of cool and breezy, easy samadhi, and nothing's bothering us, and we're grooving on the cushion, and it's all good, right? Well, of course, when we have to get up and do stuff and we come out of it, and we don't like that, we want to go back to the nice, peaceful, easy, no complication space. Our Bodhisattva vow says, come back, you got work to do, integrate that into what's happening. Be the truth of the integration of emptiness and form right now. You may not hide out in emptiness. And you've all made a vow to not hide up into emptiness. Seeing the imperative of realization in a world filled with suffering, we will bring to bear courageous presence, vowing not to turn away from each other in the face of hardship. So, the imperative of realization, this world filled with suffering, quite obvious. I mean, it's so in our face right now. It's like, it's hard to turn anywhere and not see it. But mostly when we're sitting, we are actually inviting the suffering of the ages of our own consciousness to be with us. We are using our encounter with our own suffering, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, that we are carrying forth with us. We're using that encounter to know for ourselves what it means to heal. So then, very naturally, it extends to others. If we don't do our own work, if we don't get into all of those demons' caves and everything else that's really hard, we're not actually bodhisattvas. Now, I'm not saying, oh my God, right away, I have to go down to the deepest core of the earth of my blackened soul, right? Yeah. We can take the ladder, we could go step by step. But we're not afraid. That's the most important thing. We're not afraid. We will bring to bear courageous presence, vowing not to turn away from each other in the face of hardship. So especially for Rinzin and I, that is our strong vow. You can throw just about anything at us, and you usually do. Which is fine. I mean, that's what we're here for. And we will not turn away. Although sometimes I have to say, we have to ask people to maybe put off their shoken year, or maybe it's not the right time, or whatever. Or even if you are a shoken student and it's just gotten way over the top, and it's just too much pressure to put on the system to keep doing heavy koan work or really engaging all the time in the sangha or whatever, you are certainly welcome to say, come to Rinzin and I and say, hey, I've got to back down here. This is I've got to just take a rest and regroup. Fine, totally fine, more than fine. And also know that Rinsen and I do a lot to take care of ourselves as well. We do a lot of self-care so that we make sure that we try to keep ourselves as fresh and as unsticky as we possibly can. Recognizing that encountering our barriers can be painful, we hold that no and yes can be spoken, heard and received freely, and without fear of negative consequence. So, yeah, kind of what I was just saying. If you need to say, no, I can't do that, and you do it with honesty and respect and integrity, you know, of course. Of course. And also, I think by now all of us have heard that bell ring several times in the Dokusan room. So we're all used to like basically being wrung out, which is basically no. I have to say that training is some of the best training you will ever get in your life. To be told no and to be able to walk back into the Zendo, get your butt back on the cushion and dig in. That is unbelievably amazing character training. I can't tell you how important that is. I think it was Dido that used to say, like, 11 times down, 12 times up, or, you know, he used to always talk about that as being really important, having the rug pulled out and then you just keep going, get that fortitude going. So I'm not sure what time it is because I don't have my watch. So I hit the mark? Okay, good. So we're done. Wait, what? The alaya consciousness, that's the storehouse consciousness. So that would be anything that's ever happened to you in your life makes an imprint on your consciousness, and it gets stored in the alaya. Yeah, sorry. Yes, but now he actually, all right, I'm going to say something because I think it's important as Mahayanas. So, yes, do no harm, choose love, all of that first principle of practice all comes under the heading of renunciation, right? Comes under the heading of purification. But what makes the Mahayana and Bodhisattva practice strong and kind of able to go into that blackened core at the heart of consciousness is that we also practice prajna and wisdom that knows no matter what is arising is also empty and purifiable. So there isn't as much emphasis in Mahayana on purification as the means of awakening. The means of Buddhahood in Mahayana is love, compassion, right? Being able to be with whatever is arising, however black and dark it is, and wisdom, seeing the emptiness of it and allowing the healing of that to bloom forth. That's very important. When you hear people talking about, making sure only good stuff comes into your consciousness because, the bad stuff's gonna come out at some point. I guess it's true, but even more than that, seeing the emptiness of the negative emotions is really the game. We don't want to add to it, for sure, if we can help it. But we're not so super fixated on purification, if that makes any sense. Does anybody have a question about that? Because that can be tricky. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Of the stockpile. Yeah. Yeah. And of course, honestly, if you have like a ton of negative karma, it's kind of a lot to work through. But on the other end of it, you got a lot to work through and you're a stronger bodhisattva for it. So it all works out in the end. It doesn't really matter. Yeah. Okay. All right. I hope I can answer it. Mm-hmm.
Is it transformation if you're realizing that which you already are?
Yes, because you are going from one perception to another perception. So you're going from samsaric, normal perception to super normal perception. That is change. Yeah. Something changed, right? And that's happening all the time. The thing is with Zen, we're saying, okay, you're going to go down this chute. And this is a well-worn chute. So just stay on the path. And of course, perception is no perception, right? So there's that layer of it too, which is part of the super mundane perception. Yeah. All right. Any other questions?
Were there more points that you had to go? Were there more points on the thing?
Well, just there's a few more bullet points on the covenant. And I'll just leave that for Rinsen for tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we will go for a walk right now.
Okay, unless anybody has anything burning on your mind, on your heart. Good.
Beings are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody it. Beings are numberless. I vow to freedom. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody it. Beings are numberless. I vow to freedom. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to enter them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody it.